Hello and welcome to Ready to Escape Retail Pharmacy. Glad you could join us. Today's workshop is all about how you can get outside of retail pharmacy and find that next stage in your career. For today's agenda, we're going to cover quite a bit in today's workshop. So first, we're going to talk about why most pharmacists feel stuck in retail. Then we're going to move on to talking further about discovering the hidden value of your retail pharmacy skills. From there, we're going to be learning more about what's possible for you. And then we'll talk further about a 3-step plan to get hired in 6 months or less. Towards the end, we've left some time for Q&A or question answering. And then if you stay to the very, very end, we like to incentivize you to hang around that long. We will be rewarding you with a free retail escape plan. So in today's presentations, your 3 speakers will be myself. I'm Mike Rush here at Pharmacy Career Coach, also joined by Kurt Hines as well as Diane Schultz. Starting off with a quick introduction of myself. So again, my name is Mike Rush. I've been at this for about 14 plus years. I've done hiring, coaching, recruiting, mentoring, and everything you can think of throughout the pharmacy industry over the last 14 plus years. My one claim to fame is that I'm actually one of the founders of one of the largest groups there on LinkedIn dedicated specifically towards pharmacists. So starting back in 2010, it's grown to well over 70,000 members and continuing to grow. So if you're not already a part of that, I encourage you to go join that today. We're also joined here by Kurt Hines. He is the CEO and founder here at Pharmacy Career Coach. Go back in the day, he was actually the former director at Sun Healthcare Pharmacy Recruitment Division. So he started one of the nation's largest recruiting agencies for pharmacists specifically. And then many years ago, he did found Pharmacy Career Coach, which is really dedicated towards helping pharmacists find that next stage of their career. One of the biggest things about Kurt is he's always keeping things updated. He always wants to be cutting edge and really deliver what helps work in today's job search. And then our special guest, her name is Diane Schultz. You'll hear from her in just a bit, but she is a senior mentor here at Pharmacy Career Coach. She's really done it all. So she's our trusted get outside of retail, find a non-traditional role here at Pharmacy Career Coach. She has firsthand experience. She's been a former medication safety officer, has a background as a regional operations manager, a clinical pharmacist, consultant, academic faculty, and then one of the best things that's most pertinent towards this workshop is that she spent many years of her career within retail pharmacy as well. So she's actually been there, done that, and not talking about something hypothetical. This workshop is brought to you by Pharmacy Career Coach. This is really all we've ever done for many years. We've helped over 2,500 pharmacists and counting. The fun part about this picture is that there's 99 pharmacists here. I actually recognize, I think, almost every single one of these pharmacists, and we have a lot of our success stories, but it truly not only affects you, it affects many of your family members, friends, and there's just a lot more that goes into your career. But literally I know it's pretty small, but every single one of these pharmacists is a true success story that we've had here at Pharmacy Career. And our mission here is to help pharmacists secure the jobs they want and deserve quickly, easily, and stress-free. This workshop is presented to you by Pharmacy Career Coach, and our team is really made up of leading pharmacy hiring experts. So we have current, former directors and managers. We have pharmacy thought leaders, and we really specialize in HR and recruitment and just a lot of years of knowledge and expertise that we continually update and help provide you with the best knowledge to make that career transition. So with that, very excited to get it started, and I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Kurt, who's going to kick us off and provide you with some really valuable insights. So sit tight and let's continue.
Awesome. Thank you. As far as why we're doing this training today, the first thing here is that we know that retail pharmacists, our community retail pharmacists, are really struggling and need help out there. We know this because we're seeing those posts, we're having conversations every day. And so we know that this is something that's a problem. And so that's really why we're doing this. And our mission really is to help. That's why I started this company. It was to really help pharmacists find a more fulfilling career, because unfortunately, there's a lot of roles out there that just don't give that sense of fulfillment. And we uniquely really do have that expertise in helping our community retail pharmacists make transitions and pivot into other areas of pharmacy. And so with that, there comes our reasoning on really why we wanted to do this. And retail, I wish I could say as time has progressed, it's gotten better, but it's just we just haven't heard that. These are just some of the things that we hear out there. It's just that the stress levels are rising. Some stores are having to reduce hours. You're seeing a lot of store closures this year, store closures planned out in the future. The big box chains are really struggling out there. So their business model and whatever else, it just isn't really working too well. And unfortunately, the pharmacists really feels the brunt of that. And so they're cutting costs, so they're reducing technician and supporting staff. Also, it's just hard to find good technicians, of course. There's more metrics than ever, and those standards seem to just be increasing all the time, is what we're hearing out there. So yeah, increasing the workload, expecting you to do more with less. And of course, as a result of that, that's going to cause this thing we always see, burnout. So creating all this burnout that we're hearing about. So it's really driving that. And furthermore, yeah, we're hearing because that business model is not doing so well, they're not opening as many stores, expanding. So yeah, there's less career advancement. Besides a staff pharmacist and pharmacy manager, there's not a whole lot of places to continue to grow in your career if that's something that's important to you. We've also been hearing about lower compensation rates, the patients, the customers. We've obviously heard negative things on that as well. And then just it's longer hours on your feet. These are like the things that we hear. And this is unfortunately for not all, but a lot of the community retail pharmacies. Like these are what we're hearing every single day. And ultimately it's that work-life balance. Like that is what's really suffering here. And of course, there's more than that. We did a poll. We like to just, in addition to our calls and our conversations, we like to do polls just to get a pulse of the market. And so when we asked what's the biggest challenge in retail pharmacy, the number one thing that came up was just like the burnout and what leads to the burnout. A lot of these things ultimately lead there, but it's just obviously with 43% of everyone saying they're just burnt out. I think that says a lot about, unfortunately, the state of most of the retail pharmacies. We did another poll, and it's pretty shocking, honestly, is for those that were in retail pharmacy, would you like to get out? And 84% said yes, 8% said maybe, and 9% said no. I think that says a lot about kind of the state of things, and this is one that we just did. So with that, when we look at burnout, there's like these four phases. So there's the initial enthusiasm. So especially with new grads starting your career, you're excited, you're motivated, ready to make a difference in your store, in your community. And then that second phase is overextension. So that's where you start to realize you're getting a little bit overworked and underappreciated by leadership generally. And then after a while, that leads then to this sort of chronic exhaustion, because this being in that environment over time, it's going to wear you down. We're all human beings here. And so over time that wears us down. And then unfortunately, the last step in this burnout is going to be that total burnout. And that's really the progression. And ideally, you're proactive. And so you're going to make a change before you reach that total burnout. But we've talked to a lot of people that have been doing it. And so they're at this point. When you're like truly, totally burnt out, it's hard to find motivation, the energy to do anything. And for those of you that are watching this, like if you're starting to feel that you're in this area here, then yeah, this is the time to start thinking about your escape plan. This is the time to really take action before you reach this total burnout. And when we talk about your job, your career, I think it's important to really take a step back and see like why it is so important. When it comes to your career, The big thing is this is how you're spending your life. So at least a quarter of your life is spent working. And then especially if you're someone that's doing some commute time, that's going to go up even from there. But you could assume about a quarter of your life is going to be doing working. What's important, of course, like that you're doing something that you do enjoy doing in the environment. And of course, spending so much time there, this is absolutely going to really impact your general level of happiness. Your job really controls your work-life balance. So if you're working those long hours, if you have to work the weekends, the holidays and things like that, you're not going to really be able to have true work-life balance. And as a result, that's going to really make your personal life suffer. Your job, of course, like this is how we make our money, how we pay for things, of course. And it also really is your identity. What you do really does identify, create your identity of who you are. Also, especially being a pharmacist, this is how you make your impact. This is how you chose this profession to make an impact for patient care, to help the patients. And so this is really that vehicle that we use to do that. And then the other thing that really just goes into why it matters, like what you do in terms of your role and your job, is you've invested a lot. Pharmacy school, the time for your education. So there's hundreds of thousands of dollars, all of the years. And so with all of that, it is just so important to make sure that you're doing something that you really do enjoy. So we looked a little bit at, there's obviously a high level of dissatisfaction. And so the next question is, if you're on this training, so this more likely than not, you're in the camp of wanting to explore your options and take that next leap. And when it comes to actually committing and making that transition or that pivot, some of the things that we hear a lot about in terms of holding community pharmacists to making that pivot into something different is the fear of, can't take a pay cut. I'm not qualified for anything else that's out there. I don't really know what else I would do. I have a stable position. I don't want to lose that. I'm too old. What if I fail? I'm too comfortable. I don't want to start over, which after 10, 20 years is certainly understandable. Don't have the right connections, can't afford it. What if it's worse? Is it actually better than what I'm currently doing? Is something that we hear a lot of as well. So all of these things, really, what it really boils down to is it's fear of failure, fear of the unknown, which again is completely understandable if this is how you've been doing the bulk of your career has been in the community side. So it absolutely makes sense. And so with that, the question that a lot of people think is like, all right, yeah, is it worth it? Is the grass greener on the other side? Or is it just pharmacy? And so from our experience, it has been yes. And so we talked to a lot of pharmacists. We've helped a lot make that pivot transition from retail into other areas. And so we can tell you from our experience, I'm trying to think if there's any that haven't been this case, but from helping thousands of people, it definitely is. So with that, now I'm excited to turn it over to Diane, who could tell you about her journey and give us some more insights here.
Thanks, Kurt. Hi, everyone. Thanks for showing up today, because I think this is really important that you prioritize some time for yourself. So I'm going to start tonight by talking about my journey through the various positions I've had. I've had just really a majorly awesome career. But I'm also, it's not just, my journey's not like yours. Yours is unique to you as well. But I'm also going to share with you some learnings I've had along the way that might be something that you relate to. Most of you, and probably most of you on the phone, I started in the retail setting. I live in Washington State. I thought California sounded a great place to go where the sun was. So after college, I went to California and worked at Save on Drugs. They were just converting to a new computer system. And I'm like, okay, great. This is a challenge. I really enjoy learning new things. So I just jumped all into it, helping and training others. And that was just my jam at the time. So what I learned from that very first job out of pharmacy school was know what areas of your jobs that really excite you, and then try to find ways to do this more. So I encourage you to do that and think about what you like about your job, what you want to keep going forward. and figure out a way to do more. Once I moved back to my home state, I worked as an independent for a while as pharmacist in charge and really learned how to run a business. However, business closed about a year after I got there. I actually was recruited by a retail chain. Some of you, they're not around anymore, but Long's Drug. They're now, I believe, CVS, but I was recruited there as a pharmacy manager to open a new store for them. And I'm guessing, like many of you, like many of my retail clients, the ones that stand above and beyond get asked to go help those problem stores. And so I was also asked to do that, open a new store, go help the problem store. But shortly, or after I got things stabilized in the problem store, they opened up a district manager position for our district. And I didn't want it. I was stable. I was really excited with all the work that we'd done. I was just starting a family. It just didn't feel like the right time, but I was asked by the VP to at least apply. I got the job. I took it. And I did that for about 8 years as the district manager for Long's Drug in the Northwest region. So my second learning, don't be afraid to act, even though sometimes the timing may seem off. So one of the really exciting things I got to do when I was part of the district manager team was open pharmacy care centers, and where we provided healthcare screenings and immunizations. Yes, there was a time before pharmacists used to give immunizations. So giving immunizations was a really big deal when we first started this. And it was just an amazing, fun time, innovative, that kind of thing that, again, really excited me. And I did that along with my district manager job. And then that burnout that Kurt just talked about, I got a little burnout in that position after 8 years. And I said, I'm going to leave. But they wouldn't let me because they said, we need your help in the pharmacy care centers. So I got to do that work. I said, well, I'll do it, but I need to work remote. And so they let me do that. Of course, I was traveling around and different things. But anyway, that was really a phenomenal experience. My position was eliminated after Long's was purchased by our friends at CVS. And I decided at that point, it was time to really look at what I really wanted in my career. And that's maybe where some of you are today. You may have maxed out on your retail time and you're like, well, what am I going to do? And at that point, it was important to me, I decided to get closer to where the care happens. Okay. So I didn't really know what that meant at the time, but I wanted to get closer to where I could at least maybe see a patient now and then, interact with physicians more, nursing more, that kind of thing. So how did I pivot? So another learning, okay? I identified my strengths and decided which ones those would be available to other organizations in order to make them meet their goals. If I had a strength in leadership, which is what I used as my backbone to pivot, then I could do that. Companies need really good leaders. And so that's how I did it. Again, using your strengths and what you're able to offer organizations was another learning for me. So I went to and got hired by a specialty oncology clinic where we offered not only clinical services, but infusion services and also ambulatory care services. And I was the leader on all of them. But I will tell you something, I knew nothing about oncology. In fact, I didn't even really like the subject in school. I remember not doing well on a test around oncology, but I didn't need to know oncology. I needed to bring in my skills in leadership, operational excellence. Those kind of things are the reason they hired me for that role. I could have the clinical pharmacists knew oncology. My staff knew how to do infusions. They needed a good leader to help them. And that's where I was able to do. And I'm sure there's things in your career that you could pivot and use as well. Okay. When I was at the specialty clinic, things happened for a reason. My boss said to me, Diane, I want you to be the co-chair of the medication safety committee. And I said, I'm not sure what that is, but sure. So I signed up and I was the co-chair of the medication safety committee, where we started to review unfortunate events, but more importantly, we tried to prevent events from occurring. I thought this is really cool stuff. And I just started learning more. I connected with the Institute for Safe Medication Practices, started doing some trainings, etc., and thought, this is what I got to do next. So opened up the computer again and said, I wonder if anybody's hiring for med safety. There was one, I don't know, posted just a few days prior by Kaiser, the managed care company or organization in the Northwest area. And they were just starting a medication safety program and they needed a leader. Great, I got the job, but there was one minor detail that it was a big deal because it was at a point in my life where I didn't want to work full time. And I almost declined the position, but then I got really brave and I said, you know what? Would you consider allowing me to work at 30 hours a week, which you could still get benefits for, and do this role, and part of that time have that be a hybrid position? They said yes. So learning number 4, know what's important to you in a job and go after it. It does not hurt to ask because sometimes they say yes. Okay. Kaiser was a really awesome place for me to work at the time. I got so many opportunities to learn, grow the program, not only in the areas of medication safety, but I was exposed to the health plan side of it as well, where we worked with formularies. I sat on the formulary committee. I got to see the behind the scenes on health plans work. I also was asked, because they figured out I was pretty good at operations, to take a group of people that worked in our anticoagulation center and bring them under the umbrella of pharmacy. So I did that. It was a challenge, but I did that, and we brought them under pharmacy, and that was really fun for me to do too. The other opportunity I got was to develop a transition to care program where pharmacists did medication reconciliation post-discharge. I bring that up because that is true work that is done today, and it can be often done in a hybrid or remote position. So that was a successful program. Keeping patients out of the hospital was a really good goal for these managed care companies that offer the care and also offer the insurance. They want to keep their costs low. Okay. So then there were some leadership changes at Kaiser. And so I was like, maybe this is the time. Maybe I should get even closer to where the care happens. That took me to the goal of maybe, I wonder if I could ever work in a hospital. Learning number 5, I needed to learn more. That's where I networked. Okay. And networking, I don't know the statistics anymore at Pharmacy Career Coach, but it is a big deal. And you can find some really great jobs through the networking process. And that happened to me. Okay. I found out through my networking that there was a large hospital system in our area, as a 4-hospital system that was growing and expanding their med safety program. The positions weren't listed yet, but they had my resume and they called me the minute the positions got open, and I got that job. But also, while also networking, I reached out to some past colleagues, past classmates, that kind of thing. And one of my colleagues said to me, I just got this brand new job and it's taken me out of town a lot. And I've got this side gig as a quality consultant. I think you'd be perfect, Diane, for that role. And I'm like, okay, I'll put my name in for it. I got that job too. That was a fun job, helping areas, small hospitals and organizations improve their quality and safety. So that is the value of networking. My med safety journey, like I mentioned, was at Swedish Hospital in Seattle. I was part of a 4-person team, and it was a good experience, but the culture did not match my values, and I was not really learning and growing anymore. So another learning for me, know when it's time to leave and then find something new. Okay. Again, through networking, I learned about an opening at a pediatric hospital as the director of medication safety. Someone was about to retire, and I decided to apply. In that role, I got so many great opportunities using simulation to improve processes, growing our data analytics. I even started a drug diversion prevention program. As you can see, I get excited about training, innovation, challenges, etc. Right down my alley. But one random day, I was on vacation and I was doing that doom scrolling that some of us do through LinkedIn. And I saw this opportunity at Pharmacy Career Coach. And I said, I have some good coaching skills. I've hired a couple hundred pharmacists at least, trained a lot of people. I've led a lot of people. I've had a really good career. It might be good to give back in this area. So here I am. At first, I did this role quite part-time, took a couple clients a month. But due to several changes in my own life, including that pandemic we had, as well as moving to a different town, etc., this is now my primary job. And this is a fun job. You'll see why on the next few slides as I speak to some of our the amazing clients we've had through the year. My personal mission for a meaningful life at this time of my life is really doing something small to help other people feel more empowered and fulfilled. And this is one of the ways I can do it is through my coaching. My last learning through my career was know what you want and stay authentic to what's important to you. Retail pharmacists, I want to let you know that you do have valuable background. These are just some of the lists of things that you do that are easily translatable to other settings, okay? In the 4 years I've been doing this, we'll talk about that on the next slide, but I've seen these skills be translated into a variety of settings. When I first meet with my clients, the first thing we really get talking about is looking at their strengths and looking at their experience, of course, what is important to them in a job. And my role and our role at PCC is to also help you stand out. You have unique skills. How do I get you to be that person that hiring manager wants to hire? And that's how, and we do it through several ways, but that is the importance of trying to take these transferable skills and moving them out so you can get noticed. So this is my clients. I took a handful of, not handful, but I took a group of them that were retail pharmacists and said, just did this for my own kind of FYI, but where did they end up? And they're all over the place in different settings, remote, long-term care, hospice, hospital, and you'll notice the health system is the biggest in the green there where my clients have ended up. And that is ambulatory pharmacy, that is inpatient pharmacy in a hospital system, and it is also clinical pharmacy. And I will never, ever let my clients tell me they're not a clinical pharmacist. I went to school, I got the training to be clinical, you went to school, you are a clinical pharmacist. So your experience, not only in schooling, but in all your different experiences and your rotations and that kind of thing, made you clinical. So don't ever downplay that, because it happens. You can get a clinical pharmacist job or something similar, again, through translatable skills, networking, and all the other things that we teach you in the program. Okay, so here's my most proud moments are some of my clients. And I just picked a handful. Kurt and Mike helped me as well, because we've got so many great ones. And this is Kim. She was early on one of my earlier clients. And Kim owned her own retail pharmacy, independent pharmacy, for quite some time. Kim basically had to sell her pharmacy, and she sold it to a retail chain, and she just was miserable. Okay, so she came to Pharmacy Career Coach, and we helped her. And I remember her saying to me, "I'm not clinical, Diane." And I says, "Okay, let's work through the process and let's try to find you a job." So we went through the process, and through networking, she contacted a former technician that used to work with her in her pharmacy that was then made aware of a job that might be coming up in this hospital setting. So her technician says, "Okay, when I find out about it, I'll let you know." And Kim got brave. She had a beautiful resume from us at Career Coach and says, "Would you be so kind to give my resume to your boss? So when that does come open, maybe I could be first in line." Kim got a call the next week from the manager, and she got a pre-interview, and she ended up getting the job. I want to point you to what her title is. It's called Advanced Clinical Pharmacist. So guess what, Kim? You are a clinical pharmacist. Spencer, he is one of the nicest young men I've worked with. I have a lot of great clients, but he was just such a nice guy, very empathetic, compassionate, very passionate about pharmacy in general. He came to us from a manager position at a retail pharmacy, and we did a lot of work on his strengths and looking at what he could showcase as he was out there applying for jobs and hiring. And Spencer and I talked a lot about what we had control over and what we didn't. We don't have control over the questions the hiring managers are going to ask us. We have no idea what they're going to ask. You can look at the top 30 questions APHA has out there, but guess what? Who knows which one they're going to pick, right? We also can't control how they're going to assess you or assess your answers to those questions. And the other thing we don't know is the competition, who you're going up against. So the best part of the best way to get ready for a job is to know your strengths and be able to promote yourself and tell that hiring manager why they should hire you. So Spencer reached far. He says, I'm going to try it, Diane. There's this hospital close to my home, and I'm going to try to apply for the director of pharmacy. I says, you go. And so we prepared for that. Spencer got the director of pharmacy. Now, no, Spencer has never ever worked in a hospital pharmacy before. He'd worked 1 month on a rotation in pharmacy school, which was a few years ago. So he knew nothing about hospital pharmacy, just like I didn't really know anything about oncology. But Spencer used his strengths in compassion, empathy, leadership. And this is what that team needed. They'd been through a lot of change, the team at the hospital, and they needed someone that was compassionate, listened well to her people, and solved problems for them. Spencer got the job, very proud of him. And he said to me when he got hired, he goes, Diane, when we started this journey together, I would have never, ever imagined that I would be a director of pharmacy at a hospital. Go Spencer. Okay, Yinka, the most charismatic person that you probably ever would meet. Yinka had this personality. Everybody would be his friend. You would want Yinka to be his friend, your friend. You'd want to go out with him on the weekends. He would just be always full of fun. We did a lot of work on his strengths and what was really important to him at the time. And he said, Diane, eventually I want to be a medical science liaison. I think I can see myself in the pharma industry, but I'm not sure. And we tried a little bit. We stuck the name out there because I think we decided he had some good skills in communication and sales rep all the way. So Yinka, we decided would be great to just go test drive a position, meaning go find out what pharma is like and what is a specialty sales representative. What's their typical day? What do they do? That kind of thing. Unlike you and me might go to a pharmacy conference and go to the CE because we need it for our renewal for our license. We might do a little bit of networking. No, Yinka didn't go to any CE. He just hung out in the ballroom and talked to all the sales reps that were in there so he could get a better idea of what it was like. And then he just kept networking like crazy. So there you go. Yinka's success story. And I do remember one thing. He did have to take a little bit of a cut in pay because it didn't pay as much as the retail pharmacy manager, but turned out with his bonuses, he figured within 2 to 3 years, he'd be above and beyond where he was. So it was totally worth it from him. And he's doing well. Mike, I'm sorry, I stopped. Did you have anything else to say about any of these clients so far?
No, you're going right through it. I just know with Kim, the very first one you mentioned, she was very worried about pay cut, and that's just one of the main concerns I see all the time. And she was expecting anywhere between a 10 to 20% pay cut. And when she ended up getting not only because she was hoping they maybe possibly would match where she was at, but then when she got $9,000 more, I did a success story with her. We have a video, but she was blown away by that. But that's the reoccurring theme. And then, yeah, with Yinka, I think he definitely has that trajectory to really outpace where he was at. So that's always fun to see as well. But no, everything you're mentioning it's fun to see.
That's great. Okay, great. I think I'm on Elaine next. So Elaine used to be in her most recent position when she came to Pharmacy Career Coach. She was a retail district manager. So similar to my position with Long's Drugs, she was for a grocery store chain. And she was, I could tell people really liked her. I could tell she worked really hard and could tell that she had a lot to offer that could be translatable to other settings. And Elaine tried a different area. She checked out PBM, she checked out different areas, and then she ended up through a friend, again, some networking, she ended up finding out about this position at a small drug distributor in our area. So now she's the director of procurement and business development, which to me, she was managing inventory as a manager, as a district manager. She was very obviously responsible for the drug costs in her district. She developed new strategies for her team. This title just in itself just was like encompasses all that Elaine was when we were working together. So I think this was a really great position for her, and she's done well in that space as well. And again, the unusual maybe position that you may not think of as working for a drug distributor, but again, those kind of jobs are out there. And then my last client I wanted to highlight was Will. Will is a family guy. He came to us and he wanted, number one thing really was quality of life that he wanted from us, and he wanted help with. But yet he also wanted to make a difference. He was working nights. He was working 12, I don't know, overnights, I think 4 nights a week. And he did that because his daughter was a really good swimmer and got these huge college scholarships. But at this time, she was in high school, excuse me. And so Will wanted to be on the sidelines watching his daughter swim every stroke. So he worked nights. Daughter graduates, gets this amazing scholarship in college, and went, okay, this is not going to work. I'm not going to see my wife still because I'm working nights, she's working days, and now my daughter's swim meets are on the weekends, and I won't be able to see that because I'm working these nights and every other weekend and everything like that. So Will, quality of life was number one to him, and so we found a job for him Monday through Friday at a behavioral health clinic. So that difference he wanted to make, he wanted to see patients, and he sees them now because overnight, obviously, he didn't see any. So he is truly found the job of a work-life balance, what that meant to him. I'm really happy for him and his family. Anything else on Will, Mike?
Yeah, just the big notable on him, and it's hard to even tell from his picture if he's telling the truth or not, but he said he was in retail pharmacy for 40 plus years. So when he came to us, retail was all that he knew. It's funny, this week and last week had many people say, hey, I've been in retail for 15 years. You think there's anything we can possibly do? Or I've been 25 or 30 or 35, whatever it is. But when Will came with 40, again, he just had major doubts. That's all he ever knew. So it's just an incredible story. So anytime someone says I've been in retail for 10, 15, 20 years, he's a pretty easy story to point to of someone that's been there basically their entire life. So that's his main notable. And then also he didn't have his PharmD, so he was rather worried about that. That comes up a ton. Is it possible? I'm getting auto screened out. So I know that was a big worry of his as well. It's also fun to see him make that transition.
That's great. Okay, so those are really some of our success stories. So now you see why I like my job. That's it. Thanks.
That was awesome. Thank you so much, Diane. That was amazing. And I think it's just fun to see your journey. I learned a lot by what you were sharing. I didn't realize how you made the transition from role to role. And yeah, it's fun just to see, yeah, the journey that everybody goes on. It's very personal. And when you start, you don't really know where you're going to end up if you keep saying yes to the right opportunities. And so, anyways, it was just really inspiring. So, yeah, thank you so much for sharing it. That was great. All right. What I want to do is get into, so this should hopefully be giving you some inspiration. One of the big things that we want to do again was just like to give you hope, especially if you're in any of those phases of burnout at this point. We want to let you know that you are qualified for a lot of different opportunities out there. It's just a matter of doing some things that we're going to get into now so that you can end up on the other side of that fence. And when it comes to the journey ahead, the way that we like to think about it is that there's really 3 major steps that you have to take. And so that very first thing would be the vision. So really figuring out the what, the clarity. So what is the specific roles that you're going to be targeting and pursuing? And I'm going to break these down further as we go along here. But the second part of that then is really building out your foundation. And so these are like, I think of it as like the toolkit those things that you need as you go along the job search. So we're talking resume, cover letter, LinkedIn profile, networking, strategy, and things like that. And then finally, the third step is really execution. And this is where a lot of people, especially once you experience some failure, some rejection, you're not getting traction, you're putting in applications, not hearing back. A lot of people start the journey and then stop at some point. So executing a plan, a proven plan, and staying with it is really key. And so if you can do those three things, then ultimately that's going to lead to these outcomes. And so these are exactly like the things that, like Diane's clients that she shared, these are the things that they did, of course, with her guidance to get there. So let's take a little closer look at step one. So for the vision, so defining your path. One of the things that's important, so if you are looking down the road, trying to figure out where to go, there's all different things out there. So we just went over, Diane covered several just within her own career and then some of her clients, but there's even a lot more options out there. And understanding like what options are available for you based on your skills, your experience, and your goals. So that's going to be the very first step, starting with a big list of possibilities. The second component of that is really going to be to then stack rank that. And in terms of the priorities of what's important to you, is a schedule the most important thing? Having a fixed schedule, not working the weekends, a low stress environment, working from home, the nature of the work that you're doing. There's all these components that go into like aspects that go into stack ranking, like what's really important for you. And then once we know what's important for you and we know the options that are all out there, then we could go through that process of really weeding out those options that really will fit your criteria of what you're looking for. For us, we're looking for a top 3 to 5. Sometimes it could be more than that. But you don't just want one, and you don't want, we find that like a top 3 to top 5, like that's the sweet spot. So we really have somewhere where we're focusing on, so we can really narrow our focus. And then a little bit of a closer look. So for us, so again, Diane shared some great stats on the clients that she's worked with us. But as a company, when we look at our retail pharmacists and where they've ended up, so it's really all over the place. And so these are, in this example here, so we have a lot of our community pharmacists getting into pharma industry, long-term care, managed care, retail, behavioral health, government, hospital, independence. So as you can see here, there's just a lot of different options. And then within these options, there's obviously a lot of different types of roles and functions that are available. But again, like the idea is to just understand, yeah, there's a lot. You have a lot of options. So that's not really the problem. So now when we get into the foundation, so this is step 2 of our overall plan. And once we know what we're targeting and what we're going for, then it's all about building out your toolkit. And so the very first thing, of course, it's going to be your resume and your cover letter. And so this is something, so Diane does a really good job when she's working with her clients on this, is really trying to figure out what their strengths are and how we can use that into how we're going to position them. And then especially as we look at those transferable skills that they have. So that's going to be really important when we build out those resumes and cover letters and the storytelling that we convey there. And especially nowadays, you want to make sure that it has to stand out to the ATSs, which is the applicant tracking systems, has to stand out to the recruiters and the hiring managers, and even more audiences, I'm sure. But so you got to have the right keywords, the right structure. The content has to tell a really good story. So there really is a lot to making these resumes and cover letters stand out. So that's one of the huge cornerstones there, is that the next step in the modern job search strategy is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is really nothing more than your professional brand. And especially for those that are wanting to make that pivot into something else, let's say you want to get into the pharma side industry. As you saw, like in Yinka's photo, like he had professional photos. There's all these components that we would do to make your LinkedIn profile and brand match the kind of positions that you're looking for. And so there's a visual component, but there's also making sure you have the right keywords and the descriptions in there. And the idea is that when we do this, it's going to make you stand out to those recruiters as a good candidate. And so that's really important. The next thing is you definitely need to know how you're going to convey your value in your interview prep. So preparing, knowing how you're going to explain your experiences, those transferable skills, really making sure that you have that confidence that's really critical to conducting a good interview. So having that done and doing mock interviews, that's another huge aspect of it. And then, of course, it's the strategy. A lot of people that we talk to that struggle have a hard time in their job search. They're on Indeed, they're on LinkedIn, they see a job and they apply. They don't really have a strategy. And so you really need to make sure you have a really comprehensive start to finish strategy on, okay, what are the roles? What are the companies? Make sure you're following all the different jobs. There's so many things, and I'll get into that a little bit further as well, but there's a lot of components there, just making sure you have a really good strategy. Networking is really important for those that want to make the pivot into something different. As Diane mentioned earlier, I think a common thread in a lot of those, most of those stories was that happened through some sort of networking, getting referrals. So for us nowadays, like we spend a lot of time networking because we know that's going to open up doors and help us get some opportunities and chances to talk to the right people. Because unfortunately, the lowest response is just a cold application, which just means like putting in an application, applying online without any kind of referrals. So we want to do everything we can to really maximize that. And so if we can network in, if we can get referrals, these are huge things that are important for us for the job search. And then, yeah, organizing your efforts. So again, goes into the strategy, but just staying organized, keeping track of those companies, those roles that you're applying to, and things like that. So a lot of people, again, just tend to not have a structure or a system to keep track of their job search. So these are the things, these are really the main aspects of the foundation. The other thing too that I would say would be a skill gap analysis. And if you're looking at, depending on the role and where you're at right now, there are obviously like different board certifications that you can get. There's different CEs, there's different trainings and courses and things like that. If you're missing anything, then we definitely would say that would be another important part, is just building that experience. And so again, there's a lot of things that you can do to build up those deltas, those gaps in any kind of skills. And so this is probably I would say one of the most important things is, so like that, this step 3. So like, you know what to do, you have all this stuff, and then it's just the execution and, applying at scale with customized resumes and cover letters, if possible, doing the networking, actively networking, having the informational interviews, keeping track and everything, and keep going. So we find that this is probably one of the things that unfortunately happens too often, where it's just people tend to fall off because you are going to face some rejection. And it's just important that you consistently keep pursuing it. It's unfortunately, it is a numbers game. Sometimes it doesn't take very long. Sometimes it could take a little bit longer, but if you consistently stay at it and you're doing everything right, it's really just a matter of time. Everyone that we've worked with, as long as they stay the course, keep doing the activities, they're successful. It's just when they discontinue, they stop. So the step 3 execution is really important. And I know it's hard to, when you're working full time and you're stressed out and you got life going on and everything like that. But this is one of the most critical things. But that's it. So if you do those things, that is it. So you are hired. So it's as easy as that. I should probably say too, like, I definitely oversimplified here. We wanted to keep it simple and a high level just so you could see, easily understand these steps. But really, it's more like 160 or so steps in continually doing this stuff. And the job search is not easy. I don't think too many people will say it's easy, especially nowadays, and especially for some of these more sought after positions. So it's competitive. So you gotta do all the things. And for some of you, you're like, hey, that's easy, no problem. As long as I know what to do, I can do it, no problem. But most of us are like, oh gosh, like I was hoping that there'd be an easy button, that the job search wouldn't be so hard. But so for those of you that are in this camp, I definitely want to just take a few minutes and just walk you through how we actually with this and take off some of that load for you. So with that, so we at Pharmacy Career Coach, so we've been doing this for a while. I don't know anyone that's helped more retail pharmacists get into other roles. And so we definitely know our stuff. And one of the things about us as a company, obviously, like hearing directly from Diane, who's just obviously amazing, is that we're always just trying to figure out what's working, what's not working. And ultimately, I think we have a pretty good idea of it by now. And so that's where we have this program. And so ultimately, I'll walk you through how this works. But the idea is that we know you're busy. We know you're probably stressed at some level. We know your time's really valuable. For us, it's all about, okay, how can we take more stuff off of your plate? How can we give you every competitive advantage that we know? And again, what can we do so that you don't have to do it? And so that's really how we view this thing is what can we do? There's some coaching programs out there that are more like group coaching and hey, we're gonna get on a group call, we're gonna tell you what to do, and then you could go ahead and do it. That just doesn't work because we know you're busy. And so we know that you would rather, or at least for most people, would rather just like, all right, have the pros do it. I just want to get to the outcome. I want to get out of retail into a different type of position. If that's what you're thinking, then this is probably interesting to you. How it all works is that at the very start, it's all about just making sure that you have the right guide, the right mentor. And so this is where our team, based on your background and your goals, you get to work with a proven mentor. So like Diane. So we wanted to have Diane on this call because she knows her stuff and she's fantastic. So she is our go-to guru when it comes to, hey, what's it going to take to make make this pivot, this transition. So it's working with, and really from there, it's about really, as you could hear from her story and her other clients' stories, there is a lot that goes into just trying to figure out the perfect fit, the perfect role for you. And so this is where she works with you and the rest of our team to figure out, okay, what are the right options for you? And then from there, it's just about us working with you to then creating that plan, creating that strategy, and then executing on it to get you there. And so the idea with this program is that, so the only thing, so we showed you that huge list of 160 plus things that you'd have to do. So with this, we've been able to restrict it down to the top really 3 things. So that's the only thing really that's on your to-do list. And that's really to meet with your mentor, and then submit applications and then really just focus on preparing for your interviews. That's like, this is all you got to do. And so again, like what that really means. So yeah, you get the step-by-step guidance. The other thing that we do is we have a concierge. And so once we know the type of positions that you're looking for, so let's say remote is a very popular type of role right now, different roles and remote roles or pharma, whatever it is, like the different types of positions that you're looking for, that's where our team will go and find different job openings for you specifically that match with your goals. Yeah, so you'll get a list of jobs, like here's handpicked jobs that we found for you today. And the nice thing from there is that when you see those jobs, if you want to apply, then you simply apply. And with this, like we take care of all your resumes. So we do all your resumes, your cover letters, we take care of that LinkedIn profile makeover and stuff like that. So it's as simple as, yeah, I'd like to apply to that position. So let me use this resume. I'm going to apply. That's really it. And so the other thing that's really neat is that with this, because we know networking is really important. So we have a team, and actually Leanne is on this call. She's one of our amazing team members. And so her and her team, they actually will manage your LinkedIn profile. And so their main function and priority is like getting you in connection with the right people, trying to generate referrals, trying to really expand your network so that you could find out about these hidden jobs. And so overall, it's all about just streamlining the job search. And so these are all the things that are included. So it's the coaching, access to our training platform. We got a workbook, resumes, LinkedIn profile, customer support, the concierge that finds the jobs for you, all the different types of setting specific resumes and cover letters. And then here's that networking and job lead generation that I mentioned that Leanne and her team take care of for you. And so the resume, it's really important that you have the right structure, the right keywords. We're telling the right story, the right narrative. If you don't have a good resume, you're probably not going to get an interview. So we take this very seriously. And so this is like where, so Diane, and part of the coaching process is just evaluating, just making sure that this is really telling your story. Like we have the right keywords and everything so that this is going to stand out. Same thing with the cover letter. We think cover letters are, they're important. A lot of people don't do them. They're a lot of work, but we know that, for us, when we surveyed hiring managers, it was about 45% of them said that the cover letters really had a huge impact in the interviewing selection process. So we're going to take those chances. And so that's the whole thing, is just, we want to make sure that we're doing those things that are going to maximize the probability that you're going to get an interview and get the job. Here's just an example of a LinkedIn profile makeover. And if you don't think it matters, like this is like a really good example, because this is someone, a former client, who we went in and updated the headline, the keywords, and all these other aspects of it. And so pretty immediately, so she started getting noticed by recruiters, hiring managers. She got a 3,800% increase in profile views. And so she ended up going on, I think she got 3 or 4 job offers. And so this is a really important thing. This is something that our team takes care of for you. And then when it comes to the leads, these are like real print screens of the leads. So this is, again, Leanne and her team, they go on to your LinkedIn account, they're connecting with the right individuals. And you can see these are real connections, setting up calls, getting leads, and things like that. And one of the things that we do is that, so every week we send out a report, and it has the leads that we got, so job leads that we got for you. And like in this example here, you could see where this client, their network expanded by over 424 connections. And then here's real leads. These are all these highlighted ones are job leads, and most of these aren't going to be advertised. So it's just, anyways, it's really neat to see it. And I'm like, the idea behind showing you this is showing you a little bit behind the curtain, because this is how people are like breaking through and getting these kinds of jobs. And so these are the strategies that we use for all these people. So the other thing is mock interviews. We think this is the secret weapon, because a lot of times when other pharmacists are going in for an interview, maybe they review the job description, look up the company, get that information, get an idea what they're going to talk about, and go in and interview. But for us, it's a lot deeper than that. So it's meeting with your coach, meeting with Diane, like, all right, here's the job description. Like, how am I going to approach this? How am I going to answer these questions? Like, why am I interested in this role? How am I going to overcome concerns about lack of experience? All these aspects. So having the strategy, and then the magic is really in then practicing, doing mock interviews through Zoom. So like working with Diane on this stuff. And so as a result of that, you're going to show up a lot more confident than people that don't. And we see this all the time, where even if you don't have that past experience, but you're more prepared, you interview well, you follow up strong, you do all the right things like that your mentor is going to help you with. We see it all the time where they get the job offer. Just like in some of the examples, I forget his name, the gentleman that got the director role, and actually all of those examples that you shared, Diane, where they didn't really have that background, but they were prepared. So anyway, so this is one of the things that really helps you like stand out. And then especially, we know it's really hard to get to, interviews are hard to come by. And for us, like, that's why the mock interviews, just making sure that you're more than prepared, is really important part of the process. Another thing that I, again, just wanted to show you more on how this thing works is that, so after you have your coaching session, you meet with your mentor, this isn't just like high level conversation, general feedback and strategy. This is like specific tactical, here's step 1, 2, 3, here's the exact things you need to do next. And what I mean by that is, we actually, after every session, you get a personalized homework, which essentially is like a recap of what was discussed in your coaching session. And in this example I have here on my screen, like this is actually one that Diane had sent out to one of her clients. I hope it's okay, Diane. But as you can see, so it's organized, it's step by step exactly what you need to do. And the reason why this is so important is we it's important that we have this relationship with you, but we really want to get you to that next step. Like we want to help you get that next role, and giving you this structure and this personalized advice and putting it in this format where it's really easy for you to implement and move forward. We know that you're going to be a lot more successful. So we just want to make sure you get all the answers, you get all the direction, and we want to make it as easy as possible. So anyway, so that is what we do like after each coaching session, which is I think really neat and has really helped our clients really be successful. We also have a lot of different training materials. So this is just a look at our platform, our training platform. We're always adding new modules and trainings. Our clients, they get a workbook, which is really like a dashboard that they use to keep track of. And this example is a client would fill out the zip code, how many miles they're willing to drive for their role, types of positions, companies they want to avoid. So there's all this really important information that you need to know. And so we have a dashboard workbook that you use just to keep track of everything. So anyways, so that's also what we have. And so with this, like all of this is just, it's designed really just to make it easy for you. And so you have a plan, you have a strategy, you're getting the guidance. So anyways, so that is what we have there. So this is Diamond Coaching, just to show you all the stuff, like the value of all of this stuff. So it's a lot. And the other thing that's neat is like we do guarantee it. If you apply and you're accepted into the program, and we do back it up that you're going to be successful. So the other thing that we're doing too, just to help, just based on this audience and kind of your goals and everything, is we have some pretty neat tools. And so one is when it comes to trying to market yourself, it's really important that you are getting certifications, you're doing the right CEs, you're upskilling. And so we have a list of, it's like the top certifications and CEs. A lot of them are going to be free or really low cost. We generally don't advise people to spend a bunch of money on like a random board certification unless it's going to be specifically relevant. But these are all things that if you do, it's going to really help you stand out. We have a neat remote jobs guide, which lists all the different companies that hire for remote roles, strategies on how to stand out for these roles, key industry contacts. We have another one that's specifically for pharma and industry, because again, like these are really popular. So we have these tools too that you get access to. And then the other thing is it's all about the network. So we do have a great network here at PCC, and we're launching like an alumni group of, so everyone that was featured in Diane's success stories, like people that have been here, done that, gone through the program, that are where you want to be. We have a new networking group with them and hundreds of other pharmacists and things, and that's going to be growing a lot. So you get access to that. We have different groups and things that you'll have access to as well. So all this stuff is what we're going to be doing. And so with the coaching, it's probably a $10,000 value. Like for something like this, we would usually charge $6,997. And then what we're doing for this, if you're one of those people that want and are really serious about making this transition, we do have the special that we're doing for the first 10 people that do enroll. It's $4,997. So if this is something that you're interested in, I wanted to invite you to go ahead and apply. And so that link here is, and we'll email this to you afterwards, of course, but it's bit.ly/out of retail. And so there, it's really just, we want to just set up a call, learn more about you, your goals, make sure we can help you, make sure that we're a good fit. And then if so, then we definitely want to make this transition happen. Diane is here available as a coach. And so that the goal would be to have you work with the best. And so anyway, so that's what that would look like there. And even if you're not interested in coaching, maybe you're just curious, that's why you're here. So the next step is really this, is we want you to, same thing, go to this link, bit.ly/out of retail, to book a call with our team. And because what we want to do is give you even more value. So we want to, there's so much to dig into here. But if you set up this call, what we're going to do is help you get more clarity on your goals, identifying potential options. And then we also have the job search strategy that we want to give you. It's in the Escape Retail blueprint that you can see here. And then from there, we want you to start your journey. So if you're one of these people that's not happy with where you're at, we want to make sure that you do take that next step. And so this guide alone will really help you. From there, if you want to work with us as well, obviously that is great too. So, all right, from there, I'm going to hand it over to Mike.
All right, Kurt, thank you so much. We did ask for questions throughout the week and appreciate you sending some of those in. And we did take a moment to select a few of those. So, Kurt, if you want to go a couple ahead, the very first question from Carrie, I believe she might even be on this call, so you can answer it live for her. But I'm gonna toss these up to Diane here. How do I get into hospital pharmacy if I've been in retail for 20 years?
Great question, Carrie. And maybe from the outside, it looks like it would be really difficult. But again, success after success of pharmacists, we've been able to do this. I just recently was reminded with this question that I had to get another person that owned her own independent pharmacy with her husband and then went to retail. So she was out for probably 25 years and did get a clinical pharmacist position in a hospital. So it can happen. And here's how we did it. Remember how I mentioned the part about being really true to knowing yourself and basically understanding the strengths that are pivotable, that transferable to other positions? That's how we did it. And then we did it through also networking, and we also did it through making sure when she went in for that interview, she could speak to all the things that made her qualified for that. Sometimes it does take a step. Maybe someone would want to go to be like Ginkgo, maybe an MSL or something like that. You might have to take a first step. Maybe you do go to a specialty clinic, get closer again to where that care happens, and then you go to hospital. But I've had more than imagined people go out of hospital into there. So again, being true to who you are, being understanding where you can help the organization, understanding what they want. And how do you figure out what the organization wants? Again, you find people that work there, you ask them, you get some of the behind the scenes information. So therefore, when you go into the interview, you're even more prepared and you will stand out because of all the preparation you did in advance. So don't be afraid of trying.
That's perfect. And I did get a message from Carrie. We're actually connecting tomorrow. So yeah, you gave her some help along the way, and then I'll sync up with her further tomorrow. So that's amazing. Okay, perfect. And then the next question was from Linda E. Again, for Diane, are there any career paths for pharmacists where I can set my hours?
Yeah, and those are out there still. I've seen we are a healthcare provider. Healthcare happens 24 hours a day. There is a typical, we've for years been shift work, so that's hard to get around. However, there are some situations where I have a remote order entry pharmacist, and he's able to every, I don't know, a couple months or something, he's able to request certain hours, so they change around their shifts so he doesn't always get stuck with the evening shifts or whatnot right there. So there are some companies that are amenable to basically flexing your hours. There are other positions. I mentioned the medication reconciliation pharmacist. There's a queue that needs to get done every 24 hours. If that queue, whether you do it at 7 in the morning or 7 at night, it doesn't matter as long as it gets done in that time frame. The other project people that are out there that get noticed, the diversion prevention pharmacists, just personal experience I'm looking from. And then also some of the again, project things that don't require, that are not going to be in person necessarily all the time. So some of the hybrid roles also too are available. There is more available out there than we think. It's again not necessarily the culture in general in pharmacy, but they are out there.
Perfect. Okay. And then last couple of questions here. Jessica D reached out. She was curious, what roles outside of retail have you found that pharmacists actually enjoy the most?
That's so personal, Jessica, because I will ask what's important to you in a job. And so what is enjoyable to you in a job? And if you're able to find that job where you can do it. There's some really good research on what elements make up meaningful jobs or meaningful work. And so I send that out often to my clients and say to them, okay, here's the most recent list I have right here next to my computer is seven elements of the meaningful work. And so when I've got a client that is looking across maybe 3 different offers, or they're even just trying to decide, is this really the right offer for me? We really bring that in and say, are these elements part of this? So if you feel like you're contributing, if you feel like you're able to grow, if that's important to you, not everybody wants to grow, they just want to be a contributor and go and do their job. If you're able to use your strengths, there's some really, some really important things that are unique to each of us that are going to make us want to get up and go to work every day. So I would say, again, look at which is important to you in a job. Look at what the fun part. I just had a conversation today. I asked my client, I said, so what do you want to keep from your current job? So think about that. What do you want to keep? What makes you happy at your current job? And then certainly, what do you want to get rid of? And I know your answer if you're a retail pharmacist, but what do you want to keep? And if you can find those things and then add on some additional things that are important to you, that's where you're going to enjoy and find the best joy in work.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, and then the very last question that we had come in, and I'll actually send this your way, Kurt, is do you have any resources that lists out all the different roles that retail pharmacists can transition into? And this was from Kyle there.
Yeah, so we'll get you set. So if you set up that call, what we'll do is we'll get you all set up with that. We have a couple of really good resources on the most common roles. We have a breakdown on like different remote roles, pharma, non-traditional, and yeah, absolutely. So we definitely do, and that's we definitely we'll give that to everybody for sure.
Perfect. Excellent. And then I guess with the very last slides, yeah, we just appreciate everyone that showed up tonight. I know we're going well into the night, but yeah, just can't thank you enough. If you're truly looking to get outside of retail, encourage you to go to bit.ly/out of retail. We'd love to sync up with you either this week or next week, as soon as possible, ideally. And then we even opened up the weekends. So something we're trying new for anyone feels like, hey, I'm working all week or I'm too busy. We just want to make it as easy as possible to make that connection for anyone that showed up tonight. But yeah, we're going to jump on that call. We're definitely going to talk further about you, talk further about your goals. And then a lot of people want to make that transition. So we can't tell you how excited we are to potentially help you out on that journey. But a huge thanks to Kurt, a huge thanks to Diane, and for a lot of you, I know there's some messages that we can sync up on, but again, if you go straight to bit.ly out of retail, would love to sync up on a call right away. But I hope everyone has a wonderful night, and yeah, feel free to reach out if you need anything at all.
I hate to put Diane on the spot, but do you have any parting words of wisdom, Diane, that you'd like to share?
I will. I was thinking about this actually earlier. Is that I'll tell you the 2 things that come out over and over again when my clients get hired, and I have that final conversation. It's not ever final, but that last conversation about, congratulations, you did great. And I just personally ask them, I know we have them fill out a survey and maybe you have those results accumulated, but the 2 things that they tell me that this program offered them, the first one is it was the accountability, because it is so easy to put other things, life happens, right? Put other things in front of that career search that is so important for your sanity and for bringing joy into your life. So that accountability of meeting with me every week, I'm going to meet with Diane, I got to get my homework done, right? So that piece just keeps moving them forward and keeps them going. But the second piece, it actually makes me feel I'm just overjoyed when I hear this from people. But I can watch it happen right in front of my eyes, but the confidence grows from the very first time I meet you till when you get your job. You're a different person. You really are that person that was like, oh, I don't know, what am I good with? And that kind of thing, to when you get that job and you're like, I'm now the director of pharmacy. And so just that piece and the tools that Pharmacy Career Coach offers, as well as the training that you get, will last with you forever. Now I've been doing it long enough that I've got people now moving around in their careers, just keep moving forward. And it's just so fun to watch. And they're using what they've learned because they've got the confidence and the tools to move forward. So that's what I have.
Ah, that's perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's amazing. And I just want to say there's so many, we had the number of people that registered and then the number of people that signed up. So those people that actually showed up tonight, I just want to thank you so much for being here and spending this time with us. I know we went over, but I think it says a lot about you for actually committing and sticking through and doing it. And so those are like really important for the job search and you're just being successful. Anyway, I just want to just acknowledge and just thank you for doing that and joining us. And I know there's a lot of other things you could do with your time, but yeah, so we're here to help you. So we have a lot of great resources, depth of knowledge with Diane, the coaches, team. So anyways, at the end of the day, we just want to help you if you're feeling stuck, burnout, whatever it is, and you do want some help, definitely get on a call with us. It's free. And then, of course, if you want more help, we're here to help you do that. But again, thank you, Diane, for spending the time with us. Thank you, Mike, and thank you, everybody else, Leanne, and everybody else for spending time. So have a good rest of your evening. Good night, everybody.